Hey everyone! We are working to hit 1,000 subscribers and I need your help to get there. If you enjoy the content and it is your first time here, please hit that subscribe button right now as we proceed. Subscribe to this channel right now because what we are about to discuss is the story behind the story, the truth underneath the scoreline that every lazy sports headline tomorrow is going to completely and utterly miss. The networks are going to run the highlight reels. They are going to show Coco Gauff hitting massive forehands. They are going to flash the 6-love, 6-2 final score across your screen and tell you that a young challenger got exposed on the biggest stage. And I am asking you, as someone who actually watched this match and actually understands what happened out there on that center court, please do not buy that narrative. Because what we witnessed today was not a tennis match in the traditional sense of the word. It was not a talent gap made visible. It was not a heart gap made visible. What we witnessed was the brutal, unforgiving, completely non-negotiable laws of human biology taking over a professional tennis court. And the 4 words that explain everything, the 4 words that Alexandra Eala herself sat down in front of a microphone and delivered with devastating honesty in the post-match press conference, are these. The gas tank was empty. Let those words sit with you for a moment. Because hearing a competitor of Eala's caliber, someone who has shown throughout this entire tournament the kind of mental resilience and fighting spirit that makes champions out of challengers, sit in front of cameras and simply, candidly, without excuses or deflection, tell the world that her body failed her, that is genuinely heartbreaking. That is a level of honesty and self-awareness that professional athletes rarely display in the immediate aftermath of a painful public defeat. And it is the key that unlocks the entire context of everything that happened on that court today. To truly understand what the gas tank was empty means in the specific physical context of professional tennis, you have to go back and look honestly at how Eala got to this quarterfinal. Because the path she traveled to reach this point was not the path of a player who had been managing her energy and protecting her physical reserves for the matches ahead. It was the path of a warrior who left absolutely everything on the court in every previous round, grinding through marathon baseline exchanges, fighting for every single point across rallies that lasted 10, 15, 20 shots, winning matches the hardest possible way against opponents who pushed her to the absolute limit of her physical capacity. There were no easy wins. There were no clean, efficient, 45-minute performances that let her walk off the court with her legs still fresh and her cardiovascular system still operating at full power. She was borrowing energy from her future self with every brutal, extended rally she won in the previous rounds. And today, standing across the net from the most physically dominant player on the entire WD Tour, the bill for all of that borrowed energy came due in the most unforgiving way imaginable. When Eala walked through the tunnel and onto center court to face Coco Gauff, she was already running on fumes. You could see it in the warm-up if you were paying close attention. The feet were a fraction of a second slow. The push-off from the back foot was slightly diminished. The explosiveness that makes her baseline game so dangerous was not fully present before the first ball was even struck in anger. And the player waiting on the other side of the net, this is the part that made the situation almost impossible to survive, was Coco Gauff, who is categorically the worst possible opponent to face when your physical resources are depleted. Gauff does not slow down. She does not show mercy. She does not ease into a match and give an opponent time to find their rhythm and their legs. She is an apex predator who accelerates when she senses weakness, who steps on the gas precisely when the opponent needs her to ease up, and whose defensive coverage means that shortcuts and clean winners are almost never available when you desperately need them. The statistics from this match tell the story of physical exhaustion with a clarity and a specificity that makes the conventional post-match analysis, the kind that focuses entirely on Gauff's dominance without asking why it was so complete, look not just lazy but genuinely misleading. Look at Eala's first serve win percentage. 32%. She landed 61% of her first serves into the box, meaning her timing and her toss were functional, meaning the mechanical execution was broadly intact. But the ball had no life. It had no power. It had no weight behind it that would make Gauff think twice about stepping 3 feet inside the baseline and treating it like a batting practice offering. A tennis serve draws its real power from the legs. From the explosive upward drive, from the hip rotation, from the chain of physical energy that runs from the ground up through the entire body and into the racket. When the legs are empty, the serve is empty. And when the serve is empty against Coco Gauff, you are handing the most aggressive returner in the world a gift on every single first delivery. The second serve collapse tells the same story in even starker terms. In the previous round, Eala had produced a stunning 74% win rate on her second serve, one of the most impressive numbers of the entire tournament, a statistic that spoke to the precision and intelligence of her ball striking under pressure. Against Gauff today, that number fell to 40%. She could not generate the kick she needed. She could not find the depth that pushes elite returners backward. And Gauff, reading the situation with the cold-blooded awareness of a champion, simply attacked every second delivery with maximum aggression and zero hesitation. 19 receiving points won by Eala across the entire match. The physical capacity to sustain the kind of rally construction that breaking Gauff's serve requires, the repeated explosive movements, the changes of direction, the recovery sprints, was simply not there. And in Eala's absence of physical firepower, Gauff's own mechanical struggles became almost completely irrelevant. Because here is the dimension of this match that the scoreline completely obscures and that deserves full and honest acknowledgement. Coco Gauff won 6-love, 6-2 while hitting 8 double faults. 8 double faults in a match that lasted only 14 total games. Her first serve percentage was 55%. She was missing nearly half of her first deliveries and gifting away free points on her second serve at a rate that should have given a healthy, rested opponent significant opportunities to break back and create chaos in the match. Against a fully recovered Eala, the Eala who posted a 74% second serve win rate in the previous round, the Eala whose baseline game has beaten top 10 players in straight sets, 8 double faults would have been potentially fatal for Gauff. That match would have looked nothing like the scoreline we eventually saw. But because Eala's gas tank was empty, because she could not load up and punish those second serves with the aggression and the leg drive the moment demanded, Gauff's mechanical struggles remained consequence-free. Gauff sensed early that whatever mistakes she made on the serve, they were not going to be converted into games, sets, or sustained pressure. And once an elite competitor like Gauff understands that, the tactical complexity of the match simplifies completely in her favor. The momentum data is where the human cost of physical exhaustion becomes most vivid and most difficult to watch. 10 consecutive games won by Gauff. Imagine the specific psychological experience of being Eala inside that stretch. You walk onto center court for the biggest match of your career to that point. Your body is already telling you uncomfortable things that you are trying to silence with will and adrenaline. You lose the first set 6-love before you have had a real chance to find your footing. You sit down at the changeover and you try to reset. You try to tell yourself that a new set is a new beginning, that you can find something, that the physical situation can be managed with tactical intelligence. And then you immediately go down 4-love in the second. 10 consecutive games. During that stretch, you tried everything available to you in your tactical arsenal. You changed your patterns. You altered your positioning. You went to the net. You stayed back. You looked to your coach. And your body gave you the same answer every single time. There is nothing left. The 2 games Eala did eventually win came at the very end, powered by pure pride and adrenaline, in the moments after Gauff had already emotionally checked out and was simply waiting for the handshake. What makes Eala's post-match honesty so remarkable, and so ultimately hopeful for anyone who believes in what this player represents, is what it reveals about her self-awareness and her capacity for growth. She did not cite the wind. She did not mention a phantom physical ailment. She did not talk about Gauff's dominance as though it were some inexplicable force of nature that she had no framework for understanding. She said the gas tank was empty. She identified the specific, structural problem in her preparation for this tournament with the precision of someone who has already begun processing the lesson and converting it into a plan. Because that is the lesson this loss is delivering, and it is a lesson that good players receive and great players act upon. You cannot survive at the elite level of the WTA if winning every point requires a 20-shot rally. You cannot be a Grand Slam champion if the quarterfinal finds you physically spent before the first game begins. The baseline game is world-class. The tennis IQ is genuinely elite. The heart is completely beyond question. She proved that across every single match that brought her to this point. But the path forward requires a serve that generates free points, that backs opponents off the baseline, that shortens rallies before they become the kind of physical marathon that empties the tank for the matches still to come. This loss is not the end of anything. It is not the exposure of a limitation that cannot be overcome. It is the most precise and most honest diagnosis Eala has ever received of exactly what she needs to build next. And the fact that she already understands it, that she sat in that press conference and said the gas tank was empty without deflection or excuse, tells you that she has the self-awareness to do exactly what is required. The great ones use humiliation as fuel. This is her fuel now. We need to hear from every single one of you right now. Are you heartbroken by the scoreline, or are you proud of her honesty and her accountability in the press conference? Do you believe a more reliable serve is the single most important development she needs to make? And for the golf fans, are those 8 double faults keeping you up at night heading into the semifinals? Drop everything in the comments section right now, because this community shows up even when the results are painful. Smash that like button, subscribe to this channel so you do not miss the next breakdown, and keep your heads up, Eala Army. This story is